I'm Sam Laprade. Welcome to An Hour to Give. I'm so happy you're here. I don't know if you know, but I bleed green because I'm an alumni of Algonquin College. Today is all about Algonquin College, and my good friend Mark Savenkoff is joining me now. Hello, Mark.
Hi, Sam. Thanks for having me.
I love chatting with Algonquin. You know that.
Absolutely.
You know that. You have a very important role at Algonquin. What's your role?
So I serve as the Vice President of Advancement and Strategy, which really just means I've got the great opportunity to meet graduates who are doing some amazing things, yourself included. Yeah. Get the chance to really meet some really interesting, unique donors who have really shown their generosity to support our students and our academic priorities. And we work a lot with corporate and industry partners on what that alignment might look like as we try to ensure that our learners are well equipped for the jobs of tomorrow.
It's amazing. I will tell you, I went to Algonquin in 1989 to 1991. I'm going to admit it because it was fantastic. But to see how that campus has grown and innovated itself, it's because of donors, a lot of it, and a lot of those corporate donors as well, right?
We're really fortunate for the generosity of the community. To your point, individuals, corporations, and foundations. It really helps provide that really rich learning experience that we're looking for. So now we are up to 4 campuses. We'd say the main one here in Ottawa, one in Perth and Pembroke, and we would say our AC Online campus as well. So we have over 22,000 full-time students, plus a lot of part-time students who join us as part of their educational journey.
Wonderful. I don't think you can walk 10 feet in this city without bumping into an Algonquin alum or someone attending Algonquin. My daughter hopes to go to Algonquin someday. There certainly is a lot of buzz around this college, and I think it's because people actually get jobs, Mark.
So I think it can be seen as a really direct pathway to employment, and we have over 220,000 graduates now. We've been around for a while and have a lot of diversity of programs, and so I think that alignment with students who are really passionate about something, know they can come for a very specific amount of time and have that job waiting for them on the other side is something that's really appealing to them and exciting for us.
For sure, and then they're grateful, and then they want to give back. So it's this beautiful full circle moment.
It is, and I think when we look at what that giving back looks like, it really can mean different things to different people. We have a lot of really proud graduates who are involved in our program advisory committees, giving us advice on what we can continue to do different and better to meet the needs of industry and of organizations, through to some genuine philanthropy, including the creation of awards or scholarships or bursaries, and ensuring that the experiential learning opportunities are there for everyone to participate in.
Yeah, it's wonderful. When you think about philanthropy and Algonquin, you've been there, well, it feels like you've been there for a very long time, but it's been a short period of time, but you've made a big, big impact in your time there. When you think about Algonquin and philanthropy, what comes to mind for you?
So I would say momentum. And I think that's, to me, what's really exciting. You know, I'm fortunate to work with a really tremendous team who is all there for the right reasons. We love being inspired by the energy of the students on campus, by what some of our teachers and professors are up to. We're not shy to ask because we're really proud of the things that are being studied, the work that's being done, and at the same time, we really know that the students can benefit and really do need our support. Many of us perhaps have benefited, whether it's through our educational journeys or in the community, from others who have maybe given us a hand along our way, along our path, and so it's just the opportunity for us to create those moments and those, again, chances for people to give back in a really genuine and authentic way.
I love it. Because I do remember how much I paid for tuition in 1989. I should say my parents paid for tuition in 1989. And of course, those dollars are very different today. To have the full college experience, sometimes it does take bursaries, scholarships to be able to see that dream come true.
And I think what we hear from our students is that the impact is really meaningful to them. They sense it, they appreciate it. They know that people don't have to give, and yet they know that a lot of people do. And so even the messages of thanks that we get, that we're able to communicate back through our donors, through some of the events that we would host as well, we really want to give that chance for students to be able to have their voice, to say thank you about what it really meant to them. And so we hear that through and through. We see people getting choked up when they hear stories like that, which is something I think really special and unique, and really it's a privilege to do the type of work that we do.
For sure. And when I think about corporations, I mean, you think about about the talent in this city. We're 1 million plus strong, but I think in many ways the talent pool, you know, companies are really wanting to have the best of the best. So they want to invest in Algonquin because they want Algonquin students to know about them. Is that the win-win there as well?
So you know what, I think we have a lot of really industry-leading organizations in this city, exactly to your point. And at the same time, they need talent to be able to do what they want to do, to, you know, fulfill their aspirations as these national or international leading organizations. So when we think about their needs and we think about the programs, we do really look for that alignment to say, how can our graduates be ready to go to really focus on that workforce, that talent pipeline, and so that students know with confidence the types of organizations who will be looking for them as proud graduates when they're finished.
Mark, I'm going to ask you a really difficult question now because the show is only an hour. But can you highlight some of those partnerships and some of those gifts that have been really impactful to Algonquin College?
Absolutely. So I think there's a few different types first that come to mind. And I know later on here, you're going to have the chance to speak with some really amazing people who can give even more details. But I think for me, there's the really genuine stories of the annual gifts. So people giving just what they can in ways that make sense to them. Perhaps it's an annual gift, or perhaps it's a monthly gift. And that cumulative impact of that, I think, is so special. Right through to, I think, some of the bigger gifts that we've seen more recently. And later this fall, we'll be proud to announce the largest gift single donation ever made to Algonquin College. We're very excited about that and the opportunity to share that story impact with others, through to exactly your point, you know, corporations who are really dedicated to our same mission.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And when I think about, you know, building community, whether it's the Alumni of Distinction Awards or having people to the campus, showing off that beautiful campus, I think if people haven't been to that campus, they need to go.
Agreed.
I've been very blessed to host a number of events over the years. So, you know, you'll say, okay, Sam, we're going to be in this building today, or we're going to be in this building. So I get to, as an alum, go and see some of these buildings. And I'm blown away by what's been done, how thoughtful it's really been developed over the years, and very thoughtful to the Indigenous community as well.
I think that's a terrific point. When we look at some of the facilities that the college has really built up and grown with intent over this course of the past few years, I think about the Construction Excellence Building and all that it's able to offer our students and learners, specifically in the trades programs, through to the Jack Doyle Recreation Center, you know, an amazing facility that our students have access to for physical and active living, through to the Commons Theatre and the theatre itself that you spoke to, big community events that people can really take advantage of, whether you're a current student or not, through to some exciting things that we have on the horizons. And I'm thinking specifically of 6 new science labs, a modernization project that we're working on and working with many donors and sponsors and industry partners on to ensure that our students really have a state-of-the-art learning experience with that project itself, having over 20,000 new square feet of lab space that will be available soon.
Nobody wants me in a science lab, Mark, let's be honest. But I'm very excited for students. I think that's fantastic. People want the full experience going to Algonquin. And a lot of my daughter's friends are, you know, we're going for the first year this year. And I would tell them I graduated, you know, when we went by horse and buggy. That's how they pictured it. And they were very excited about the whole experience. And I think when you're able to give back as well to a place that maybe launched your career, it's very special to be able to do that. Talk to me a little bit about how, if someone's listening right now, maybe they're a CEO and they went to Algonquin and they haven't really sort of thought about a way they can give back. How would you inspire them today?
Well, I think first of all, you know, I'd say that we want to hear your story. You know, we're really interested to hear that story of why you chose Algonquin College in the first place. What was it perhaps that you learned, or the people who you met during your experience, that perhaps something that still sticks with you now? And as they reflect on their career path, whether they're recent graduates, you know, perhaps mid or later career, or seasoned professionals doing exactly what they always intended that they might do, really letting us in maybe a little bit, just getting that perspective on what it meant, really, so that we can double down on it, right? You know, we want to do more, we want to inspire more, and I think that is one of the great perks of this job, is getting hopefully the chance to learn some of those stories, and we want more. Always more stories. Always more stories.
And talk to me a little bit about you know, how important it is for people to understand that they are receiving a tax receipt. I mean, this is a formal gift.
Absolutely. So I think there's lots of ways that people can really choose to dedicate their resources, their generosity. We are a registered charity. People think of us as perhaps a big post-secondary institution. We are. We're a large polytechnic and all that goes along with that. And at the same time, we are a registered charity trying to do what other registered charities are designed to do, which is support those people around us. Mm-hmm. And again, many people have supported us along our journey. We're just looking to do that with and for others. And so through those mechanisms, exactly to your point, we have the ability to provide those tax receipts when that is the motivating factor. Absolutely. We have the ability to entertain sponsorship opportunities when that makes sense for corporations and organizations as well. So it really is about alignment of interest. It's about understanding the story and then mapping out a bit of a journey that we can walk on together with our donors and those who want to invest in our students.
You have a small but mighty team. Tell me about your team.
I do. So we are small, and yes, we're mighty. The team does such great work. And I think they come from a really diverse background as well. Over the course, the past few years, as we've all joined Algonquin College in our capacity, that momentum has absolutely continued. So now we have hundreds and hundreds of donors who support us, gratefully, each and every year. And last year we had a record year of over $5 million raised.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, I think about how far this foundation has come. I mean, you're not really that old compared to some other, charities in this town. So you've done an incredible job.
And I think for us, again, it's just going back to understanding really the purpose of why we're here, of what we'd like to do, having that narrative that we're very much interested and willing to talk through. I think in this work and in this sector, we're all ambassadors for the causes that are near and dear to us. Education has always been near and dear to my heart, and Algonquin College has just fit into that perfectly. So don't mind leaving the kids at home, right, for a little bit longer some evenings than they might care to have, but they know the next day that it's because of something really special. Hopefully we were able to do for our community the night before.
100%. Mark Savenkoff, thank you. You're going to be back in a little bit, so we're gonna have you back as well. Mark Savenkoff joining us from Algonquin College. When we come back, we're going to learn about some of those big gifts. Stay with us here on An Hour to Give. Well, I love inspiring you here on An Hour to Give. We're going to do that today, all about Algonquin College. We have Linda Krebs joining us now from Nokia. Hello, Linda. How are you?
Hi, good, thank you.
It's great to have you here.
Great, thank you for having me.
And you've brought Charles as well. Charles, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you, great to be here.
And tell me a little bit about your role at Nokia.
So I'm actually currently doing a dual role right now,
Okay.
but essentially my new role is Head of Talent Attraction for Corporate Functions and Strategy and Technology. But I also dually manage the campus student program for Canada right now.
Wow, that's a big role.
It is.
It's a very big role. And Charles Nixon from Algonquin College, what's your role?
So I'm a support staff at Algonquin. I'm an academic technologist. I take care of the computer labs, the infrastructure that connects the labs, and repair the problems that the students get from the learning and the equipment. I'm also part-time faculty at Algonquin.
That's fantastic. Don't tell President Claude Brûlé, but you're probably really important there. I want him to make sure he knows he's important, but I think you're really important too. That's wonderful. That's great to have you there. So Linda, tell me the partnership between Algonquin College and Nokia. Tell me a little bit about that.
It's been long-standing, and it's pretty critical to our organization. We hire a ton of students from Algonquin College every year. Even for last year, for example, for just co-op students and not even including interns, we had about 46 students. But over the years, it's been hundreds of students, and then not including the new graduates as well too. We hire quite a bit. So.
That's wonderful. How important is a partnership like this for Algonquin, Charles?
It's super important. Corporate partnerships are so essential at getting the students the experience that they need when they go out to work in industry.
Yeah, it's so important. So walk me through a little bit about exactly what Nokia does, because I think people hear the name, they may not know exactly what your role is.
Well, it's actually a really great question, actually, Sam, because a lot of people think that we are still those cell phone manufacturers, but we aren't. And we do manufacture them, or we outsource them to a third-party vendor out in Europe. But what we do is create cutting-edge technology with regards to 5G. So everything to do with the telecom industry and the 5G network. That's essentially us. So our motto is we create the technology that connects the world together. So it's everything to do with network infrastructure, network operations, 5G, and then next generation, potentially 6G down the road, right?
So really important, of course, for students to be on that leading edge as well, right, Charles? That would be an important piece.
Absolutely. Getting hands-on experience with the latest technology and the latest infrastructure, and having the confidence to be able to touch it and know exactly how to use it has been such a boon for the students.
For sure. And so walk me through this latest partnership, which is very exciting. And I'll be honest with you, I don't fully understand it. That's why you're here, Linda. I need to understand it.
Well, so we have a bigger partnership in the terms of, hiring students. There is diversity, equity, and inclusion types of initiatives that are happening in terms of the partnership with Algonquin. But there's a huge donation in terms of over $530,000 of equipment that was donated to Algonquin College most recently. And it's such a big component to the successes not only at Nokia, but also in the telecommunication industry in itself, right?
So tell me how that affects students, Charles.
So students before in training on in a particular course would access a remote lab that was set up for them that was hosted at Nokia. So the type of equipment they would access is carrier grade or enterprise grade equipment that Algonquin didn't have the budget to buy and install in the rooms for them. And through years of working through Nokia or with Nokia, we've been able to get some of that equipment installed in the classroom so that they can get hands-on experience using the equipment and be so much more prepared for when they go to industry.
And that's what we want, right? We want students coming out feeling prepared to go into the workforce. How important is it from a talent perspective that you have this partnership as well? Not only attracting those interns and those co-op students, but then those full-time staff that are going to take the company to new heights.
It addresses the skills gap that we have between employers and academia. And this is something, especially with cutting-edge technology, it's constantly evolving, it's constantly changing. And so what we need is really, as an employer, is individuals who are ready to hit the ground running when they graduate. And this hopefully addresses that, essentially, where the students can get actual practical hands-on experience in the classrooms with some of our technologies, so that when they are, even as a student, intern, or when they graduate, that they're ready to essentially contribute. Right?
And what do you hear from students about having that leading edge technology, Charles?
Students are very excited to be able to work practically with the equipment and build the experience, learn how to keep the equipment repaired, learn the idiosyncrasies of the equipment, stuff that you wouldn't have from looking at pictures of it or reading a document or even watching a video about it. There's just something so much more tangible at holding it in your hands, plugging things into it, and watching it respond to your commands to it.
Wow. And I think that's what sets Algonquin apart. I mean, as I've mentioned very proudly, anyone that's listening, I attended Algonquin very, very proudly, took the PR program, graduated in 1991. I really would not be where I am today without Algonquin. And I suspect that a number of students that have had this opportunity are saying the same thing.
It is absolutely a critical in terms of the applied hands-on experiential learning that is different, right? And that makes a huge difference, especially for the individuals who are working in our labs, the individuals who are on the hardware engineer, hardware technician side of things. It's very different than maybe perhaps reading a book than actually, as you mentioned, working with actual physical equipment, right?
And your role is so interesting, Charles, because you have this sort of dual role as well. You get to see how students react. You said obviously it's very positive. Is there any sort of story in there about a student that is maybe surprised about the type of technology they have access to?
Yeah, students, how to put this, know of the ecosystem or know of that technology is available, but they know how expensive it is. So they never think they'll actually be putting hands on and touching it. And they're surprised when they come into the classroom and see, spread before them a wall of equipment, and they say, "We're going to get to touch this equipment?" Absolutely.
Yeah. See, that actually that did something to me. Like that I'm sure that did something to you too, because I think that's what you want students to feel excited about using the type of equipment Nokia has.
Absolutely. And if they get that hands-on experience, it's a competitive market out there. They make themselves a little bit more marketable to industry, to the community, to telecom industry with cutting edge technology, and so that puts them at an advantage, right?
For sure. Charles, how long have you been teaching for?
Oh, about 6 years teaching. Yeah. This will be my 23rd year support staff at Algonquin.
Wow, and we see a lot of, I've had the pleasure of speaking at the faculty welcome at the beginning of the year, and the long-standing staff members that have been there, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, sometimes more than that. It speaks to Algonquin. Yeah,
Algonquin's a great employer. There's lots of people that come there, stay there for their entire career. The employee award ceremony had the awards for the people that have been there. One of my mentors is, I think, in their 50th year.
What?
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really inspiring to see that. What would you say to other corporate partners that are thinking that this may be for them to partner with an organization like Algonquin?
I'll be honest with you, I think it's absolutely critical. The partnership between academia, employers, and community is so critical to make sure that we're aligned in addressing the skills gap, to make sure that we develop talent for the future, especially with technology. It's evolving, I'd say every second, essentially, versus like 6 months.
True.
But in order to make sure that we are innovative, that we address diversity, equity, inclusion goals, that for individuals to come in and out of school, for example, to continue that innovation, to bridge that, it's so critical. Right?
It is really critical, and it's really an opportunity as well, Charles, to see students grow over time. Do you ever have students after your years of teaching come back and say, "This is what I'm doing now, Charles. This is what I'm.
Yes,
this is
absolutely.
what I'm engaged with."
So we take that opportunity to let them know that if their company is working on old equipment and replacing equipment, that we'd love to have their old equipment to get into students' hands. And that's happened many times in the past to students who'll go on co-op, and the job that they do initially for that employer is to catalog and remove the old equipment and assist in the secure erasure of it, and then they find a way to donate it to Algonquin. The Canadian Tire Center, the Canadian Senators Foundation, we've recently received a donation from, and Cerio, formerly Rockport Networks, also a big donation from them, and that equipment directly in students' hands.
And that's where it really takes a village, right? Would you agree?
Absolutely. Yes, for sure. And actually, it's quite interesting because a lot of our employees are either program advisory committees, or they're part of the PAC committees, or they are also working for us, but as professors. So the students actually get that exposure to, just specific industry technology.
So Charles, I have to ask you, as a professor at Algonquin, do you still get those back to school butterflies, or are those days over for you?
Well, what I like to do on the first day of class is get up in the lineup there, waiting to get into the room, and sort of needle the students a little bit, saying, "Where's the professor? I hear he's a hard professor." And then, of course, I badge the door open and let them in. And
I love it. I love it. That's a great way to start. I love that. And we just have a couple of minutes, but what would you want to say to Algonquin about this partnership?
I'd say thank you, actually, to be quite honest with you, for bringing in great talent into our organization. This allows us as an employer to continue to drive that innovation, to make changes for technology that actually connects how we as human interactions connect with each other across the globe, right? And so we really, on behalf of Nokia, we value the partnership that we have with the school, and only hope to continue to grow that.
That's amazing. And what would you say to a student that is maybe in high school right now, they're thinking about heading to Algonquin College? How would you inspire them to fill out that application and become part of this really important community?
They should follow their dreams, go work towards or apply to a program that has interest to them, that they want to get hands-on practical experience in. Algonquin is all about ensuring that the practical experience is there for the students. It's a really great place to go.
Yeah, it is, and I said at the beginning of the show, I bleed green. I'm all about Algonquin. I really do think it's an important place to see that it's going to carry on for many years with great partners, and to see how that campus has come alive since my time there. Back in the day. It's really wonderful, and it's because of partnerships like Nokia. So thank you so much, Linda, for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me.
Linda Krebs joining us today, and Charles Nixon, thank you so much for everything you do at Algonquin.
Thanks.
Keeping everything ticking, which is important.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm Sam Laprade. This is An Hour to Give, and we're talking all things Algonquin today, and I could not be happier. You will not want to go anywhere. Stay with us on An Hour to Give. And we're back on An Hour to Give. I'm Sam Laprade. We're here with Angie, Lyrette, joining me now here on An Hour to Give. Hello, my friend. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Sam.
It's lovely to see you here. You are here for two reasons, which I love. So first of all, tell me a little bit about your role at Algonquin College.
So I'm currently a professor. I teach in the School of Business. I specialize mostly in finance, but I'm also an educational developer. So I'm working with supporting brand new faculty in their onboarding, as well as helping other faculty make their content more fun. I think finance is probably one of the more boring topics that we have at the college. I mean, I love finance, but I want other people to love it too. So I've been using a lot of strategies to help students engage with the material, and I've been sharing that with other faculty this past couple of years.
That's wonderful. And I think it's the opportunity as well to give the faculty that, that leg up to have the best year they can have as well. Then students benefit, right?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. And you have another role. Tell me what your other role for Algonquin is.
So I'm also a donor. I had a couple of years ago set up a bursary for students, and I had also recently donated a family vehicle to the college, and I have a small amount in my will naming the college as a beneficiary as well.
So they say the definition of philanthropy is time, talent, and treasure. So you've just done tick, tick, tick. You've ticked all three boxes, but I love it. I love it. So let's dive a little bit into it, because I think it's really important. Obviously, you're dedicated to the college and dedicated to the students. Why add the element of philanthropy?
The bursary came about. I had a student in one of my classes who was fully engaged, asked really good questions, participated in all the activities, and the group participation was amazing. The peer evaluations on this particular student were top class. And then I ran into that same student at graduation, and they were with some family members, and they didn't look at all physically the same as the person that I had met at the college. And what you can do at Algonquin College as a student is you can have the faculty and the registrar's office call you by a preferred name. And this student had done that, so I had always known this student as another gender, and I'm seeing the student at graduation dressed in what must have been the wrong clothing, and with family members who none of them looked comfortable. It broke my heart. This was not the same person that I had had in my classroom. That person was alive. This person was collapsing in on themselves. So unfortunately, your diploma or your certificate has to be issued in your legal name. And for a lot of folks, that's a barrier, because it costs about $130 and it takes about 6 weeks to go through the process. And that's a financial barrier to my students. So I set up the bursary with the idea that if you wanted to legally change your name so that your diploma or your certificate would be in the same name as how you know yourself, and you could also have a little bit extra money to buy an outfit that helped you represent who you really were, and that the family members who may not have supported this particular student in going to graduation as they believed that they were themselves, that if it appeared that the whole college was behind them, that maybe the family would come along.
Oh, you're gonna make me cry.
I just wanted that for this particular student. And so for the last time I checked, there was about 43 students who'd been able to take advantage of the bursary. And the one that I was able to meet through, I'm an anonymous donor for that particular bursary, but the one I was able to meet had bought themselves a winter coat with the money. But as a teacher, it's also frustrating when you walk up to a student and their laptop screen is cracked or their phone screen is cracked and they just don't have the money. And this particular bursary, although it's intended for particularly queer students, they can ask for it for anything. It doesn't have to be to legally change their name. And it just can be for whatever they need.
Wow. I mean, I've shared with you throughout the show that I'm a very proud Algonquin alum. And I'll always remember the moment that I came home with my diploma and I didn't know what I was going to do with it. And my dad, who was not like this at all, took it and had it framed. And so I still have it on my wall today. But if it didn't represent me, that would be very difficult.
Yeah. And then employers. You have to explain to an employer why you've applied for a job in one name, but your diploma, your certificate says another name. And so you would be forced to out yourself, even if that's not what you wanted to do in that moment with your employer. So it then becomes another battle to work through. So I think the college is doing an extremely good job, but legally they have to issue the certificate in the name that's on the formal.
And Angie, I think when we think about donations, and of course we need them, and they're amazing, and I'm grateful for every single one of them, the $1 million donations, right? Obviously those keep the Algonquin College going and all of wonderful.
But we love them, keep them coming.
We love them, absolutely, we keep them coming. But I think one of the reasons I'm so happy you're here together today with me is that you can, as one person, make a difference to many at a level that's also comfortable for you.
It was so easy. I contacted the area and I said, this is what I want to do. Here's who I want to do it for, and this is what I'd like you to call it. And then they just set it up. Here's a link that I can share on LinkedIn. So once in a while I reach out to my people and I say, I'd like you to donate something pink for Day of Pink, and that's a $50 bill. And I collect the money and I give them the link. And then regularly I have payroll deductions coming. It just, whatever, a small amount coming off my paycheck, and it goes directly to this bursary.
Do you think you've inspired other professors?
Yes, I know I have. Because when I reach out to them on LinkedIn, or if I knock on their door in the college, then absolutely I can get them to send a little money that way.
Yeah. And I think, many people would think, okay, well, you go to work every day and, you're giving it your all, that you don't need to do something like this. Why? Why do you do this?
I'm also a graduate. I started at Algonquin in 2006 as a student. I was in my early 40s and I had not accessed post-secondary before that moment. And I'd been working full-time at TD Canada Trust, and I'd been doing a lot of onboarding of new employees. So they would hire 20 new customer service officers at a time. We would do some classroom work with them, and I was enjoying that. I thought, I feel really good helping these people start their careers. So I came to Algonquin. There's a program called Teaching Adult Lifelong Learners. And I registered, and the second course that I was in out of the 8, I was invited to teach part-time. And I thought, oh yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. I had no idea that that was the next step for me. So I really think that a combination of education and money completely changed my life.
Do you realize that you're changing lives?
I hear from my students, and also the ones who don't reach out to me directly. I see them on LinkedIn. I watch them get their first entry-level job. I watch them get the promotion. I watch them move through all of their different career aspirations, and I'm so proud. But there are a couple who do reach out afterwards, and they say, that thing you said in class changed my life. And I know that feeling. I know that one of my teachers in the Teaching Adult Lifelong Learners program did something that changed where I was going with my life.
And I don't know if we pause and reflect on that enough. The impact that each and every one of you have at Algonquin. The jobs that are in the employment that come out of Algonquin. I mean, they are really essential to how this city even ticks every day. I don't know if really people get that.
You don't.
Yeah.
You just go in and you do your job, and like you mentioned, I want to have a good time in my classroom. I get bored saying the same thing over and over again, so I want different kinds of engagement.
It's wonderful. What would you say to somebody that has graduated from Algonquin, is maybe thinking about doing what you did?
It's so easy, for starters, and the gift of giving, you feel it. Even if you never meet anyone who benefits from the generosity, it doesn't matter. It changes you inside.
I asked this question earlier of Charles Nixon, also teaching at Algonquin. Do you get those back-to-school butterflies? Do you get them?
It's my favorite time of the year, my favorite day of the year,
I love
and is the first day of school. I go in and the energy and the people who look lost, and you can tell. And so you go and you ask them where they're going, and then you walk them to their classroom or walk them to where they were supposed to meet somebody. It is the most exciting day of the year. I get a little weepy in Staples. The idea of new markers, I get them from the college, but I also buy the smelly ones for my classes. So the second favorite day is convocation. And everything else in the middle is so that those 2 days can be the best ever.
Oh, that's incredible. That's incredible. What would you say to somebody that maybe is in their 40s and they think that those post-secondary days are behind them?
It's not. I think the reason why I enjoy what I do so much is because I never thought learning should stop. That if that's how you approach life, with curiosity and with a desire to learn more and to do more, then going back to school is actually, it's the best thing you could do for yourself.
What was it like for you on that first day? Do you remember?
So it's a part-time program, and it was held mostly at night, and my colleagues in the program were part-time faculty at Algonquin College. So I was a bit of the odd person out because I didn't already work there the way a lot of the other people in the class did. And I felt a little out of place, but I believed in myself. And when I did get that teaching job, I went to our part-time orientation session, and I was sitting there amongst all of these other new part-time faculty, and I thought, oh my God, I am a banker pretending to be a teacher, and I have fooled all of these nice people into thinking I can do this. I'm a fraud. And I honestly thought, again, I didn't want anyone ever to feel that way. So now when I introduce myself to the new groups of part-time faculty in a classroom, I tell them that story and I say, I was sitting in one of your chairs, and I remember feeling exactly how you're feeling. And I'll tell you what, some smart person hired you to work here because you're really good at what it is you do in your industry. And you love the idea of sharing that with our students. And you're passionate about being here with us. And we're already a Butter College because you're here.
Oh, amazing.
So please stay.
Yeah.
We don't need you to know how to be a teacher just at this second. We'll help you with that.
Right.
But please come and bring everything that you came with, and we'll work on the teaching part. Don't worry about that. It'll come.
Wow. Incredibly inspirational. Thank you so much, Angie. I really appreciate it. This conversation will stay with me for a very long time.
Thank you.
Angie Lyrette joining us here on An Hour to Give, talking all things Algonquin College. We're coming right back. I hope you do too. We are talking all things Algonquin College today. I'm Sam Laprade, and this is An Hour to Give. Mark Savenkoff has joined us again from Algonquin College. How are you, my friend?
Doing well, thanks.
Have you enjoyed the show today, hearing all these inspirational stories?
Absolutely. There's inspiration there. There's some tearjerkers there. We talked a lot about, the importance of stories and storytelling, and I think we're going to hear another really special story here.
So this was a bit of a warning. You're going to be inspired again by Karen Saer. It's so wonderful to have you here.
Happy to be here.
It's wonderful to be here. Tell me a little bit about your connection to Algonquin College.
I have a recent connection to Algonquin College, and I discovered it when I found their garden after I moved to Ottawa.
So tell me about that.
Well, I was interested in making a garden, and I didn't know what to grow in Ottawa. Where does one find gardens in Ottawa? And I found a beautiful one at Algonquin, which inspired me. And I went, what's this place? And then found out more about it. Yeah.
And tell me a little bit about your husband, Robert.
My husband, Robert, well, let's see where to start. He was an immigrant when he was about 10 and was brought to Canada from Belgium. And his parents found work. Not an easy thing to do after the war. So he was always very proud of being a Canadian. And he made a good name for himself, worked hard. His parents didn't speak English when they came and kept moving to find better and better jobs. And his dad was an electrician over in Belgium. And he found out when he came here that he had to join a union and he had a family to support. So he was wondering what else he could do. He found out that he could be an electrician with the train company. So they moved to Vancouver, and Robert lived there. They had a real immigrant story. They were able to buy a house, but his mom rented out rooms in the house, and he didn't really have a room of his own until he was a teenager. So he is a success story. His parents did everything to make sure that their son had the very best chance, and Canada gave them the chance.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
These are the stories that we really look to,
Yeah.
you know, Mark, as fundraisers to try and inspire us.
Absolutely, and I think it's around that motivation for giving. It could be to honor someone, it could be as part of their memory, it could be something immediate, or there could be a longer term horizon. And I think it's asking questions, and it's genuinely listening.
Mm-hmm. So tell me how you've honored Robert.
Well, after he passed away, I thought about a lot of things. It's a very emotional time, and I wondered how best his legacy could be passed on to Canada, and I found Algonquin, as I say, and I thought this might be perfect. So one of his big interests was woodworking, and he absolutely loved wood, and lo and behold, Algonquin had that. And of course, there was the nursing program there, and towards the end of his life, the nurses were just wonderful. So I decided there would be 3 legacy bursaries that we could set up.
Wow.
So I kind of narrowed it down, and I had some help and guidance from Algonquin to do this. But those were the interests, and then I threw in my horticulture interest.
Yeah, which is wonderful. I love the trio. I think it's
a trio.
wonderful. Wonderful. And you know, when people are thinking about leaving a gift in their will, it's often reflective of the life that they've left.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about what do you think Robert would think of this?
I think he would be pleased. I also asked specifically that it would go to children of immigrants or immigrants themselves. We all need a help up, especially in a new country, doing a completely new life. And I think Robert would be very pleased with this. That was his story too.
And I think plan giving, Mark, you know, some people think it's something you need to do, you know, at the, you know, sort of when you're doing your will, maybe when you're older. But this is something we can all do to ensure that our values are reflected. If Algonquin meant something to us, and a really good example today, 3 different programs has touched Karen's life.
Absolutely, I think we were humbled when Karen considered us in the way that she did, and again to help honor some of Robert's passions and his memory as well. And to your point, I think that consideration for planned gifts, for estates, and for a will, it's something that all of us can be considering really at any time. I know in Canada, November is one of the months that's a big push for everyone to think about their will, but it doesn't just need to be in November either. It's just about the consideration. And I think it's important, for Algonquin in this case to understand the story, to understand the interest and the intent, because in understanding that intent, we can ensure that we're going to do right by this generosity, that we can do exactly what Karen imagines that we can, and notwithstanding the amount, just the intent is really, really important for us. Yeah.
Have you shared this with friends and family, Karen, this beautiful
I have.
legacy?
They think it's a great idea, so that's very encouraging. And I hope it will inspire other people to think about such a thing.
For sure. And what I love about it is, we have something in common, by the way, is I've also left a gift in my will for Algonquin College. I don't have a green thumb like you do, but mine's gone to, really I wanted to, help a student that was within my program, which was public relations. And I think it's all different people getting involved for their own reasons. If something means something to you, you can probably, to your point, find it at Algonquin, Mark.
I think, we have so many programs that we're able to offer. And I think through the conversation, through really understanding that intent, then we can make sure that, when the time comes that we're structured to be able to do exactly what everyone hoped that we would. So as it stands right now, we know about only 1 out of every 4 people we imagine would have us as a consideration in their will. So our ask is that if people do, and if they're willing to have that conversation, if they're interested in sharing that, we'd be open to the conversation just to learn more so we can be prepared and have those. And of course, at any time for all of us who are considering creating a will, for those of us that don't have, or updates, then that's something that we can absolutely talk through in terms of the mechanics to make it happen, if that's something people are interested in learning more about.
And I think it's really important too. I mean, I've had 5 wills. Part of it's because I collect husbands, which is a bit of a problem. But part of it too is that, really living your values through that. And so for me, it was important that I look after my daughter, right? I mean, that was purpose 1 of an estate. But I sort of created a charity child and had an opportunity to say, I want my daughter to know also what was important to me. So I think people sometimes think about legacy giving or planned giving as, oh my gosh, like this organization is going to want all of my estate. It's just not true, Mark.
No, and I think those are the conversations that we're open to have, and those are the myths that we're willing to bust through, because there can be so many different ways to make it happen, and again, ways that just make sense. And I think it can be small relative to a total value, it can be large relative to a total value. I think it's just the conversations that we can have, again, that shared understanding, so that we can do some really meaningful things over time.
Now, that first visit to Algonquin to visit the garden, when you visit now, how does it feel?
It feels like I have a little bit of a stake in this now.
You have a big stake. I love it. I love it. That's great.
Yeah, and it's always nice to see.
Yeah.
So, I'm kind of proud of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I would be very proud. I think that's wonderful, and it's such a wonderful way to remember your husband as well, and inspiring people to do this, Mark. I mean, it is a delicate conversation, and some people are more in touch with what they want to do, and some people are a little bit hesitant. But it's, to your point, it's telling the story and having the conversation.
And I think what we'd encourage people to do is, for whoever you're comfortable talking with, it could be family members, it could be friends, it could be a member of my team as well, just start that conversation. I think some people might be a little shy or hesitant to start it, because hopefully there are some resources that we're able to provide or point other people to. And it can be as simple as language. People aren't quite sure what language to include.
Right.
And we can help with that through to, again, the spirit and intent of giving, the way that it can be realized with awards or scholarships or bursaries, specific programs. So that the more people are willing to share, then the more we can help hopefully answer some of their questions.
And what I love, and the theme today, I don't even know if you've picked up on it, is the ease of doing this. I think we heard it from a couple of other guests today, how easy it is to work with the team at Algonquin. They're small but mighty, as we know, but you found the process to be quite easy as well.
I did. They were very helpful. It was during the pandemic, so super helpful.
Yes.
It's a very emotional time, but they're very good at what they do. There's a big element of trust that goes into these dealings, and I felt perfectly at ease with it. So.
And was Robert, did he carve wood himself? Was he into those types of things?
He was into woodworking. He made clocks. He made boxes.
Yeah.
Lots of boxes.
Yeah.
But he liked the finer work.
Yeah, beautiful. My grandfather was a woodworker as well, so we have a number of his things in our home as well. So it's always nice to see those.
It's nice that his passion kind of lives on with other people.
And it
he
will live
can
on
share it in a
forever.
way.
You know that, right?
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I mean, plan giving, I remember when I first heard about it, I thought, oh, I don't know if I'd want to do that. And then I worked in plan giving for 15 years, and I was incredibly inspired. And it's the stories, and it's people that have the sort of foresight to say, this is what I want to see happen. It's wonderful work that you're doing, Mark.
No, I appreciate that. And I think it is, to your point, that last point, it's just around planning. And it's around planning for yourself, you know, for your family, for the causes that are really near and dear to your heart. And, you know, to Karen's point, it is about trust. And, you know, and we take that really seriously as well. You know, looking to invite Karen and others back to campus as much as we can. You know, keep informed about all those exciting things that are happening, some directly related to perhaps programs that are of interest and other things that are just more widely exciting and fun to be on campus for. But it is that relationship that, that we get excited about and that we don't take for granted.
Yeah, absolutely. It's wonderful. I think it's beautiful the way that you've created this legacy for Robert and for yourself as well. I think it's beautiful. I think the three areas you've chosen: horticulture, nursing, woodworking. I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's perfect. It's perfect. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Mark Savenkoff joining us, of course, from Algonquin College, and bringing the one and only Karen Saer. Thanks for sharing your story with us today.
You're very
I really
welcome.
do appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
I love Algonquin College. I am just a big fan. I remember arriving on September the 5th on the in the C building at Algonquin College, and boy was I nervous. Little did I know that Algonquin College would change my life, and I'm so proud to also have put a gift in my will to remember all of the great things that have happened because of Algonquin College. I'm so happy you joined today. I'm hoping you learned something today about the philanthropy behind that big, beautiful college you drive by at the corner of Woodruff and Baseline, and you have the opportunity to visit, and maybe your child's going to be attending Algonquin, like mine hopefully is next year. And I'm hoping that you've learned something about Algonquin College today, and that if you are a graduate, hopefully we've inspired you to give back too. I'm Sam Laprade. This is An Hour to Give. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.